Okay, we are recording officially for this Realtor Toolbox series. Denise, take away the introduction of Mr. Michael Harden.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am so excited that I get the opportunity to introduce Mike Harden, or known to me as Mikey, but I don't think he lets anyone else call him that. So I have to tell you that Mike Harden and I, we go back 20 years. And 20 years ago, I saw this man in customer service making a difference in the lives of realtors. And I was vice president of sales and marketing of a national title company. And it was immediately that I knew that this man had talent. And I somehow convinced him to come along with me and to build a department that would serve real estate agents. And Mike has a heart for education, has a heart for blowing away the norm. And so it's been a journey of 20 years with Mike, and it's been the greatest pleasure to watch him emerge as an incredible man, as a leader, as a realtor, as an educator, as a trainer. But if you ask me what Mike is most known for, it is as a father and a husband. And so I'm telling you, buckle up, get your pen out, your paper out, because he is about to show you how to increase your ability to get hired. And by getting hired, the ability to create more revenue in your company. And not only will he do it with his talents, but he'll do it with his heart. And so I am so excited to introduce to you Mr. Michael Harden.
Thank you very much, Denise. Hello, everybody. How are you today? Give me a wave if you're on mute. Or if I can't see your face, if you just have your name on there, Esmeralda, then you can't wave because I can't see you. So anyway.
But I can say hi.
You can say hi. All right. So let me fill in a couple of blanks there. Again, my name is Michael Harden. I'm the senior agent and the trainer on the client. And I got started in the real estate industry back in 1993. I was an unlicensed assistant for the #1 ERA agent in the world at the time, and was a Mike Ferryite. And we just hammered Mike Ferry scripts all day long and set appointments, and that was my job. Ended up coming to Las Vegas in '95 to follow my girlfriend, which is now my wife. So we've been together for 26 years, and $3 later. Got into the title business when I first got here because my grandfather was in title and had to get a real job because real estate wouldn't work according to him. So got into the title insurance side of things, and that's where I met Denise. Got my license in '08, which was, right out of the frying pan into the fire, and struggled for a bit, for a long bit actually. Got back with Denise in 14 on her team, and it's been flying ever since. So with that, what we're going to be covering today is the duties owed form. So quick question, who actually has read the duties owed form? Raise your hand if you actually honestly have read it. Okay, only a couple faces on here, so hopefully you guys have. Well, then the next question is, when do you guys have it signed? Do you have it signed when you first meet someone? Or do you have it signed kind of in the package when you write up an offer? It's just another document in that package. So I know from my experience and in experience with other agents, it's the latter. It's never at the start. But according to state law and NRS, it actually says, actually, let me read it. It says right here, that, and the word is my favorite word. As soon as practicable. I'm not even sure that was a real word, so I had to look it up. So as soon as practicable. So as soon as you meet somebody, really, as soon as you have an opportunity to talk to them about real estate, you need to disclose that you are a real estate professional. And basically, this form is your job description. And this form can get you hired just by a document that is a disclosure. There's no pressure in it. It's a very soft sell. It's actually not even a sell. It's like simple question. Basically, the document, we go through it and people hire us. At the end of the document, we ask a simple question. Do we sound like the real estate team you want to hire today? They say yes. And then we go through with whatever we need to do next, whether it be a buyer's brokerage agreement or a listing agreement. And the answer is already yes. So there's never any more question, well, should we hire you? Because they've already said yes, they would. So we'll go through that real quick, and we'll talk about how we can use the document for anchors. We can use it for setting expectations, trial closes, things like that. And we'll show you all that stuff. But first, what I wanted to do, who's actually read this book, The Greatest Salesman in the World? If you haven't, pick it up. It's very inexpensive. It's $7.99 for a paper copy. And don't download it. Get a paper one. The paper one is just, it's much better to read this book in paper. Plus, you can write notes in it. So I've written some notes on this page. So what I'm going to do is I've read this before. We've been reading it as a team. And this one little paragraph kind of struck me. So a little bit about this book, you know, in this chapter 4, this guy named Hafid is going into Bethlehem and attempting to sell a robe, and he's not having any luck. And he's discouraged, and he's kind of beating himself up. And this is what he says to himself in this paragraph. So let me read it real quick. Why will the people not listen to my story? How does one command their attention? Why do they close even their door before I have said 5 words? Why do they lose interest in my talk and walk away? Is everyone poor in this town? What can I say when they tell me they like the robe but can't afford it? Why do so many tell me to return it at a later date? How do others sell when I cannot? And what is the fear that seizes me when I approach a closed door? And how can I overcome this? Is it my price not in line with the other sellers? So as I'm reading this the other day, I realized, you know, how is the focus? How is he being when he's saying these words and I'm reading them? His focus is inward. Like, it's all about him and me. What do I have to do? And not outward. So when we go into the duties owed, it's outward. We're doing it for them, not for us. We asked them one of the first questions. You know, we feel that hiring a quality real estate professional is one of the best things, one of the most important things you could do in a real estate transaction. Wouldn't you agree? And of course, the answer is, well, yeah, of course. So again, it's for them. So we already set them up that they're going to hire us. So then we go through, and just to be outwardly focused, you have to have a connection. So so someone comes to the office, you don't know who they are, you do not have their permission to go right into business mode. And here, let me present this document to you. I'll read it to you and you'll just sign it. It doesn't work that way. You've got to connect with them. There's 5 keys to communication. The first one is connection. You have to make a connection with the person you're talking to. How do you make a connection? Anybody know how? What can you do to know you have a connection with somebody? 2 specific things I'm looking for. What's that?
You make them laugh.
Make them laugh, or make them cry. So preferably we don't want them to cry. So we want them to laugh. We want that connection. And it's not at some silly joke. There's a different kind of laughter that you know there's a connection. So you make that connection. And then in that connection, you find out what their why is. And more importantly, what their why is, what kind of house they need. Do they need to sell now? Do they need a bigger house, a smaller house? And most importantly about their why now? And if not, why now? We can imply why they should now based on market conditions, things like that. So finding out their why and their why now. And then you can go into your unique selling proposition. Ours on the client team is We Educate in Real Estate. So we educate them with this document. We go through and we align our unique selling proposition with their whys, and then go on to the next step. The last one is follow-up, or go through the next step, which is signing the documents and go buying them a house. So after we get connection, now we have their permission to go into business or talk about business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and we'll look at the document, and I'll go over a couple things first. First will be expectations, then anchors, then the trial closes, and ask for the referrals, and we'll show you where in the document you can use those it Okay, so it won't actually read through the whole entire thing. However, let's see where it is. There it is. All right, can everybody see the duties owed form? Cody, can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so right here at the top, again, we ask them we tell them it's the most important thing they could do to hire a real estate agent. And then the next thing we ask them is, again, we're setting expectations here, and we want to set credibility as the expert and do it in the right way. So we ask them, a very, very simple question. And that question is, do you think it's a good idea to sign something that you haven't read? And then shut up. Just sit there. Their answer is going to come very quick. It's going to be no. They might have something, a joke. I did it once, but it's always in the negative. No, it's not right. They shouldn't do it. So our response is always, that's great. We're going to get along. Awesome. So what we're going to go over this so you know what it is you're actually signing. And when you sign at the bottom, you're just acknowledging you received this and we've gone over it. Does that make sense? And we go right through it. Okay. So then we talk about, we'll actually go over the document. And by going over it, it demonstrates what? Competence, one, that we know the document. And if you show competence, it creates confidence, which in a sense really is trust. So once they trust you, they've already started to lean to the yes, that they're going to hire you. Okay. So we talk about, first we talk about we talk about how it's broken down into a couple different sections. First section is about our license information and our brokerage. The second section are the duties that we owe to all parties. The third section, the duties that we owe to the client. So the first thing we talk about here is, let me just move this for the screen. Okay. Right here, in the duties that we owe to all parties. So disclosure, disclosure is a big deal. And basically in this little section, we tell them, and we kind of sum this up and say, we have 3 priorities for you. Protect and promote your best interest, disclose everything as required by law, and document everything so it protects you now and in the future. And then we throw in a little bit of a joke and say, and we have a little joke, but it's serious, but it's a joke nonetheless, that we will have one verbal agreement. And that verbal agreement is, we will have no verbal agreements. So everything we do is going to be in writing. And if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Okay, so everything we do will be in writing, whether it be in ink, text, email, or electronic signature, everything will be done in writing. Are you okay with that? Answer is always going to be yes. So again, just building that credibility. We're the expert. We know what we're doing. We go down into here to the third section where we talk about some more expectations, where it talks about presenting all offers. We ask them, hey, do you know how offers are presented here in town? Whether they've owned a home here before, maybe they owned a couple years ago, or from out of town. We always assume that, hey, things are different now. So do you know how offers are accepted or how offers are presented? And then we go through the process of telling them how our offers get accepted more often than not. Okay. So again, we're just setting that credibility as the expert. We know what we're doing. We're successful at it. And this is how we do it. Okay. And then we also have the supplemental form at the top. So it references up here that yes, the supplemental form 525A, if it's required, if we have multiple agents. We're on a team here. To be honest, I've actually, as of this morning, I've lost count how many agents we have on this team. I believe we're at 15 active agents. One of them is licensed with our TC, but 15 agents on our team. And we talk about that. We talk about how they are an extension of me or whoever's doing the presentation. How basically we have 24/7 service. When I'm in a consultation or a meeting like this, someone else on the team can cover for me. And we all speak the same language, that kind of thing. Just note though, especially here in the Synergy community, if you guys needed assistance, who would you go to if you're a single agent? If you did come to somebody in the Synergy group and, hey, can you maybe show a client a house this weekend? I'm going to be out of town. That's when you can use the supplemental form, put that agent's name on there. So now they know that they are tied. So Cody could put on Joe's name and Joe could go show a house for Cody, anything like that. That's when you would use it as a single agent. So we use it as a team agent with our team. And again, everybody's on there. So again, just setting some of the expectations, again, going through the whole thing, they know exactly what they're gonna get from us. So now some of the anchors, 2 big things. What are the 2 probably most common occurrences in a real estate transaction that usually can mess it up. Two things that happen in a transaction, they happen in every transaction, except a cash transaction. Two things in a transaction that most likely can give it a hiccup or a speed bump or whatever. What could
Bad
those be?
agent, bad lender.
Well, yes. Well, I'm more specific about the actual transaction. So like the home inspection,
Yeah,
right? And then the
appraisal.
appraisal. Okay. So those two things. So, and when those things come up, if you haven't already addressed the issue now, before they even hired you, after they've already put their earnest money down, they're already planning on spending several $100,000, and now they have an issue, it could be difficult to bring them back. They could go completely squirrely. So you set these anchors now and tell them that these are some possible hurdles later that we could expect, and this is how we handle those. So, for example, here we go down to the third section to number 5, disclose to the client material, actually, let me highlight this. Disclose to the client material facts, which the licensee has knowledge concerning the real estate transaction. So the way we present this one is, so when I say the words, so this one's about disclosure. When I say the words material facts, when it comes to real estate, what comes to mind? And let them talk. The majority of the time, they're going to talk about somehow the condition of the house. Somehow they get that out of that. And so we give them examples. So say from the selling side of things, the seller needs to disclose that they had a water leak. There's a 5-page document. You know, it's a big document. It's the only document in the transaction that has the law attached to it, things like that. And we talk about what the seller has to do to disclose all this information. And if they don't, what could happen? And then we talk about, you know, on the buyer side, you know, what they need to do. If they were to go have a midlife crisis and buy a Ferrari, that their credit score is going to tank. They could disqualify themselves. But it comes back into the home inspection. We're going to find out all these material facts. We push to have our SRPD as fast as we can, so we have it for the inspection, so we know where there might be something to look at. So we'll get that. And then on the appraisal. So we talk about here on, actually you get the inspection and the appraisal on number 7. So accounting for all money and funds. Okay. So we tell them there's going to be 3 times they're going to have to come out of pocket other than their down payment during the transaction. The first one is their home inspection, and tell them what the price range would be. We tell them what the home inspection is and set them up to say, hey, we're looking for health and safety items. You know, the ding on the back of the wall from the doorknob, it's probably not going to get fixed. So we set that up so it's not an issue later. Then we talk about the appraisal. They need to pay for the appraisal. Explain what an appraisal is. If the appraisal comes in high, great, you got equity. If it comes in low, here's the challenge. Here's how we handle it. So we get it all set up. So in the event that something squirrely does come up, hey, you remember we already talked about this, and it's easily pacified. So those are some of the times 2 big things, 2 anchors you set early, and the issues, and keep your transactions together. Okay. Denise, you can speak to this more than I. We have a very, very, very little cancellation rate. In fact, 0, I believe, for home inspections and appraisals. So again, it's about setting these anchors and making sure our clients understand what they're going to see. So the next thing we're going to talk about is trial closes. So again, this document is just a disclosure. Could you imagine that there are 5 trial closes in this document before you ask them, do we sound like the real estate team you want to hire today? 5 of them. The first one we talk about on top. And it says, this form does not constitute a contract for service, nor an agreement to pay compensation. Again, this is your job description. If you decide to hire us, you'll sign a buyer's brokerage agreement, okay? Okay, is their answer. Well, there's the first trial close. If they're gonna balk at signing something to hire me, they'll kind of like, they'll show you, usually just an okay. So the second one, so the top one is if, the second one is yet. So right here, so the second section, duties that we owe to all parties. So basically the general public, people who haven't hired us yet. Is that okay? Yes. Then we go down to the third section. These are the duties that we owe to our client. So when you decide to hire us, these are the duties that we now owe you, our client. Does that make sense? Yes. There's our third trial close. Then right here, we talk about, exercising reasonable skill and care to carry out the terms of the brokerage agreement. So right here, this is the actual document that you will sign to hire me. Does that make sense? Yes, there's number 4. Then we go down here where it talks about agency and an agent being able to act for a licensee being able to act for both parties. Again, we don't have dual agency here. We have an agent for acting for both parties. That's different, and that's a whole nother class. However, when we say that, we talk about, from time to time, we might have a property that might fit your needs perfectly. Would you want me to show that to you? Well, yes. So now I've already got properties. We're gonna represent you to show them. So there's our 5th one. And when it comes down to the bottom, do we sound like the real estate team you want to hire today? We've already said yes 5 times. They're gonna say yes again. So are we on time? We're good. So next one is asking for referrals. Do you have any idea, or did you ever think that this document, this disclosure that we're supposed to sign first, could be a source for referrals? Did anybody ever think that? If anything, this might be the one thing you might not know. So right here, section 3, number 2, more about disclosure. And this one talks about confidential information relating to the client. The state says we need to keep their information confidential for a year. So what we tell our clients that we're meeting with, hey, this is the special sauce of real estate. Imagine yourself, you're already in your house. We've done a great job for you. Could you see yourself referring family and friends to us? Their answer is, of course. But that's great. That's what we're hoping for. We want to build a relationship that lasts forever. And the state says we need to keep your information confidential for only a year. We hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we keep your information confidential forever. So if you refer your brother and he says, hey, how was Joe's deal? I'm like, did you see Joe's house? That's all they get from us. Your information is kept confidential forever. So you can feel comfortable referring your family and friends to us, knowing your personal private information isn't going to get told to them. So anything they know about the house comes from you. So again, so now there's that anchor for the referrals. Hey, remember, hey, family and friends, we're going to get referrals. Make sense? All right. So then after we go through all of this, we have them sign, and we have them sign it, date and time it. And then we have one last question. Do we sound like the real estate team you want to hire today? And I'd love to say 100% of the time, maybe 99 now, 98, they say yes. So we've had a couple. We've been a little softer with our teacher clients, not to push them too hard, but we do have some objection handlers if they say no. But we get this signed almost all the time. Again, 99% of the time. So once they say yes to this, going right into the buyer's brokerage agreement is a no-brainer. And if it's not a big deal. We just switch the document. Here you go. Great. Now this one is the buyer's brokerage agreement. Okay. So there's never any negative energy. Oh, they're going to sign it. Do they? Or no. Yes, they already said they would. We go right into it. So with the buyer's brokerage agreement, there's just 3 things I want to just cover on that, because really it's actually 4. It's really self-explanatory. So let me just unshare my screen again so I can give you a new document to look at. All right, buyer's brokerage agreement. They've already said they're going to hire us. A couple of things that we want to point out to them that really stand out. So E talks about new homes and lot sales. Majority of clients do not question the amount of money the commission amount. If they do, it's because that's the energy you put on it. However, if they did, well, we'll set it up early so that they know who's going to pay what. So we go in and say, E, great news. 95% of the time, the seller is going to pay 100% of our commission. Isn't that great? Of course, they're going to say yes. So we talk about, if you were to go to a new home, an open house, or for sale by owner without us or someone on our team, the seller might not pay us. If you want to go do that and go see one of those properties, then yeah, we'll go with you and the seller will most likely pay us. So you don't have to. Isn't that awesome? So now they already take that first objection about, oh, how much it's going to cost if it's there, takes that off the table. Then the next thing we're going to talk about, here's our broker compensation. We charge 3% of the sale price, and we charge that. We haven't had a buyer balk at the 3% if they have a 2.5% listing or a 2.75 listing, because we've set this up already. We let them know that, hey, we do charge 3% of the sale price. There's time to time again, you might have an agent who might offer 2.5 or 2.75 or something like that. We can't negotiate the terms of our commission in the contract. However, we can call and ask if the seller's willing to increase that, or the seller's willing to pay some closing costs to cover the difference. But just know, Mr. Buyer, you never have to buy a house where the seller's not willing to pay 100% of our commission. So, again, take that issue off the table. We've never had a buyer balk at paying the 0.5% or the 1/4% when it comes down to closing. So then we go the next thing, last two things. And the biggest one, really, number 17, is a buyer declaration. Again, this is making sure it's CYA, making sure that they're not currently working with another agent, so they don't have to enter in multiple agreements and multiple fee obligations. We tell them, we don't want you to have to pay us. But if you cheat on us and you go out with another agent, you might have to pay us both. So we actually read that verbatim and bring up the subject about working with another agent, make sure they're not. And then the next thing is number 19 is FERPTA. How many in here actually understand what don't understand what FERPTA is? Anybody not know what it is? Feel free to say no. Somebody, anybody? No? Okay, I heard one. Okay, so
I'll say no so you can explain it.
Thanks, Joe. That's what I was looking for. Perfect. So FERPTA, and what we tell the clients is, if anything, this item right here is why you hire our team, because how we handle this subject. And I read it. And basically our script is, have you ever heard of the Foreign Investment Real Property Tax Act?
No.
People say no. I'm like, don't worry about it. Nobody else has either. And I say, so what it is, it's an IRS tax code. Who knows IRS tax codes? Nobody. So we talk about this IRS tax code and how it's how foreign entities and foreign owners can sell a property and their taxes collected at the time of the sale. And if it's not, guess who has to pay it? Mr. Buyer. So in every one of our contracts, we write a clause in there that says, if you're subject to FERPTA, that the seller is going to provide the documentation necessary, pay any fee necessary, so that you can ensure that their tax is collected at the time of the sale. So again, we're looking out for them, being outward focused, making sure that I tell them, I don't really want to pay my own taxes. I definitely don't want you paying somebody else's. So those are some of the highlights from the BBA. Again, how we're creating that outward focus, how we're doing it for them. You guys have any questions? I'm going to share my screen. Yes, sir. Cody.
Mike, give us a feel for roughly how long usually you spend on the duties owed and the BBA, like in total and separately, how much time?
Well, I can actually tell you so with this also, I will also send out a video of me doing the duties owed, and that video is 18 minutes long. The buyer's brokerage agreement, let me just look at that video because I've got that here as well. Our buyer's brokerage agreement runs about 14 minutes. So again, if they don't have any questions or if we have chit chat through it or anything like that, the videos that I'll send out to you guys of how we actually do it, again, are just, there's no objections. They're just the scripts. It's how we teach our new agents to use the script. So 18 minutes for the duties owed, 15 minutes for the buyer's brokerage agreement. And then we go into our consultation, our actual consultation book with all the fluffy stuff that every agent likes to give out. And then we go into set up their search. So our consultations are about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on questions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Great stuff so far.
Thank you.
I would say, Mike, that anybody who can fit about 5 hours of good content into a concise explanation like this in 34 minutes, actually probably more like 32 minutes because we started a bit late. Very, very well done. And I love the systematic approach, the objective of each piece of that. Thank you for sharing. I can tell you that I've actually seen Denise do the presentation before and have implemented a few things into how I present those documents, and picked up a few more today. So thank you.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. No, you're welcome. You know, the thing too is just that the main focus is the whole connection piece. And Joe talks about it in one of his last presentations at the Synergy Summit. You know, it's just about the connection. You've got to care about what they want. It's not about you, it's about them. So if you put them at the forefront, you're outwardly focused, you know, how can you fail?
I like how you kind of pull them in a little closer with some of your questions that, you know, the FERP explaining the money handling and those kind of things. Because, you know, for a lot of people, those are the, there's a lot of uncertainty when they're going into the meeting. And then by you bringing up some of that uncertainty and then kind of relieving those fears, they almost feel compelled to feel closer to you from a trust standpoint.
Right.
Like, you know, this guy is alleviating things that I know I don't know. So I think that's strong.
Oh, yeah, yes. So question in the chat, do you send the listing docs ahead of the appointment? Referring to the BBA and not the listing. So, well, with the buyer's brokerage agreement, when all of our buyers come to our office, unless they have COVID concerns, and then we'll do it via Zoom. But the process is still the same. We share our screen just like I did. The difference in when we do it on Zoom, one of the first thing we ask is, hey, do you have access to your email right now? And just to make sure, because the objection, if we don't ask that, we say, okay, I just emailed you that document to sign. Oh, I don't have access to my email right now. So we squash that at the first question of the meeting. Hey, do you have access to your email? Yes, great, perfect. And then we start the connection piece. So we take that objection right off the table. So we'll share the screen and then email them via AuthentiSign, have them sign it electronically while we're on Zoom, and then go into the BBA. So we treat it just like we would in person. We just do it over Zoom. As far as the listing appointment, we don't send the documents ahead of time. We are working on a pre-listing package to send out, but it doesn't have any of the documents in it. So we bring those with us. Cool. Any other questions?
You know, you did a good job when you don't get very many questions.
Right. I appreciate it. That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see that video of you doing one of those. The 18 minutes would be good.
Yep.
Yeah. Mike, do you mind if we put those on the Synergy YouTube channel? Because a lot of people on Synergy are subscribed to that channel.
Yeah. Yeah, we can.
Okay. That's where we'll put them. We'll put this one out there. We'll put those two out there also.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's the it'll be the duties owed and the BBA. That's what we have the recordings for. So we'll get those up there so everybody can have access to that. And again, you'll see the whole entire script too. Same with this, we just took bits and pieces and some of the highlights. But how we go through some of the other stuff and how we bring them in. I mean, for example, here's another quick one. The first question talks about in the duties we owe to all parties. It says not to deal with any party within a real estate transaction in a matter which is deceitful, fraudulent, or dishonest. So what we say is, hey, number one here basically says that we're not going to lie, cheat, or steal. That's okay, right? And immediately they laugh. So like, we're waiting for that one client to go, hey, Michael, let's just get it done. Like, I'm glad today is not going to be the day. So now they know you're not some shyster who's going to just, do something wrong. So there's more stuff in there you can get from the video as well. But we get hired all the time with this thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've heard a few numbers thrown around out there, but I think 98%, it's somewhere in there. And whether that's 97 or 99, it's all the same. Pretty dang good. So definitely everybody, I hope everybody's paying attention. This is another bunch of nuggets of gold that will help you get hired for sure. Very good concepts. All right. Before we end, let me just plug a couple of things we got upcoming. So next week, a week from today, is our virtual Synergy Summit. You should have seen the little videos on the WhatsApp thread that we have a challenge out to everybody in Synergy to have 2 people committed by Tuesday, 2 by Tuesday. So this is definitely one of the easiest things you can invite outside agents to come to, because the entire purpose of it is providing them great content. And, you know, every realtor wants great content like that. So if you're unsure about how to invite, then call me on my cell phone and I will help you know exactly how to say that. 2 by Tuesday, that's the challenge. We want to hear people's success stories on that. Lacey, do you want to help me out with the Realtor Toolbox things we have coming up?
Yeah, we have a couple more Realtor Toolbox. I just want everybody to be aware of. In a couple of weeks, 2 Thursdays from now, is Matt Ha. He's going to share with us how he leverages the squeeze pages and KV Core on social to get new leads for no dollars. That's just what KV Core does. He uses that a lot on social. So he's going to let us insight on how exactly he does that and share his tips and secrets with us for that. And then a couple of weeks after that, we have our own Denise Klein coming up to the stage again to talk about the concept of top 50 and how she prioritizes her top 50 with, it sounds like everything she does, she prioritizes around the top 50. And she's had a lot of success doing that. So she's going to teach us how she's doing that and what that's all about.
Okay.
Just a quick note on that top 50. Could you imagine 50 people, just giving half of those people giving you 1 referral a year? There's 25 deals. So the top 50 class she does is amazing.
And that's going to make you hit icon status in most cases. If you do 25 transactions, you're pretty much there. Yep. Cool. Good stuff. All right. Anybody got anything else before we call it a night? Thank you to everybody for participating, and thank you to those who will be watching this on playback. Hope that you found this interesting and helpful for your business. And thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thank you.
Later.